Almighty God, we humbly call on you to bless this council and all who are engaged in the work of local government. Grant that we all may order all things in wisdom, righteousness, and peace, to the honor of your name and the good of your people who dwell in this city. Amen. Good afternoon, councillors, Town Clerk, Chamber Secretary, senior members of staff, members of the Fourth Estate. This is the second meeting of the year, and prior to going into the formal business, there are four issues I wish to address. The first concerns the catastrophic water situation that we are facing as a city. As those of you who attended the last meeting of council know, when we met on the 3rd of January, we had a meeting with Dr. Masuka, the Minister of Water, that morning, and we had undertaken to write a letter to the Minister, which was done on the 12th of January. That detailed letter set out the nature of the crisis that the city was facing and short, medium, and long-term goals to address that crisis. The short-term measures outlined in that letter included the rehabilitation of the Nyamandlovu aquifer pumps and electrical swifgear. It included the provision of pumps to the Amzungwani pump station, and it included the construction of a bypass on the Mchabez pipeline down to the Amzungwani pump station. These are short-term measures which, in the views of our engineering team, can be done within months and are critical if we are to provide water to our city. The medium-term goals relate primarily to the construction of Glass Block Dam, the construction of a 32-kilometer pipeline from Glass Block to Nema water treatment work, the expansion of the Tuli Reservoir, and a few related engineering works that need to be done. The long-term goals relate to the completion of Gwashangani Dam and the construction of the 257-kilometer pipeline from Gwashangani to the city. So all of that is contained in that letter. Subsequent to our meeting, we have met with potential contractors on Glass Block, who, with the council and with the relevant directors, have set up two technical committees, one engineering and one financial, with a view to producing within a few months' time detailed reports, including feasibility studies for the entire project from Glass Block to Nema to Tuli and the rest of the city. And we believe that these are critically important measures if we are going to save the city going forward. They are constructive measures. We believe that dam at Glass Block will be a public-private partnership deal between the city and contractors, and part of the work of these committees is to set out a very clear financial plan for the city to be able to enter into that agreement, with a water purchase agreement included in that. So we have made substantial progress, and the town clerk and I have taken the measure of speaking, for example, to Minister Ngube, and even this afternoon, another minister, Minister Nyoni, to ensure that we get government support for this project, which we all believe is critical to the future of our city. But before I leave this first topic of water, let me appeal to the Fourth Estate in particular here today. As we all know, as we look out the window here, we can see clear blue skies. We are facing a catastrophe. When we last had a report from our engineers, the water levels were at 43%. As we know, since we last met, there have been hardly any rains, and there's very little rain projected to fall even in the next week or two. The ground is now dry again, so even if we have rain, there's unlikely to be much runoff. And as a city, collectively, as a council, as management, as residents, as Fourth Estate, we all have a duty to understand the gravity of this crisis. And we all have a duty to play our role in facing this crisis and in implementing measures. We know that many people are already facing severe water shortages, particularly in the high-density suburbs where there's limited water supplies as things stand. We don't have the immediate solutions, but one of the things that we've started, I have recently been in contact with Cape Town City Council. As you know, the city of Cape Town a few years ago had to go through a similar crisis where they faced running out of water. And we are ready, the town clerk is aware of this, and the director of engineering is aware of this, that we are hoping to benefit from the measures taken by the city of Cape Town so that we can anticipate this problem and limit the extent of the catastrophe. But let me close with a direct appeal to government. To the government, we say to you, Bulawayo is in a crisis. We do not have the resources ourselves to address this crisis. We need urgency shown to address this crisis so that we do not run out of water. And this requires a collective response. The second point I wanted to raise concerns our sewerage works. You will all have seen that there are reports of cholera in the region, and we face the terrifying prospect of a cholera outbreak here. It is unacceptable that our sewage works are running at such low capacity. And it is critically important that we act, for example, to get Hazelby functioning as quickly as possible. And it is also important that some of the sewage rehabilitation works which have been stalled because of litigation progress. And those private parties who are involved in those contracts need to take a national and a humane public view of this, because that work must begin so that we get those sewage works functioning quickly. But that needs to be our second goal in my view. It is critically important that we get the sewage works going. The third point relates to informal traders. I want to briefly speak to you primarily about Egodini, but I'd also need to speak in a broader sense regarding the potential problems that are confronting us because of the chaos, particularly in Fifth Avenue. With the spectre of cholera and with the mayhem that exists in Fifth Avenue, we have a time bomb waiting for us if we do not address this. Egodini is now, well, rather phase 1A is ready for occupation. This afternoon I visited the site. I paid a brief visit to the site. It is now ready. I'm advised by the town clerk that all 400 leases have been signed, have been agreed to. So we have 400 vendors who can move to that site. And once again, to the Fourth Estate, we appeal to the Fourth Estate to work with us and to the vendors, that those who've been allocated those vending bays should move there as urgently as possible. And likewise, we call on the commuter omnibus operators to immediately start using that site so that we can clear 6th Avenue. The council has been working on another site on the west of the city to make available, and that will be ready soon for further vendors. And as we are all aware, councillors, that there are some 10,000 other vending bays that are available now for vendors to move to. Primarily because of the threat of cholera, we have to move with urgency. As we all know, we recently issued an advertisement calling upon vendors to register, calling upon them to take up these different bays. And we make that appeal now, and I think tomorrow we will be issuing a further advertisement indicating what the plan is and where people can go. But we need to act with common purpose in this regard, encouraging people who fall in our different wards to get them to move to those sites as soon as possible. The agreement is that starting on the 9th of February, there will be measures taken to clear Fifth Avenue, to restore order to Fifth Avenue. We want that done in a humane way. We have deliberately delayed this project so that people are given ample time, vendors are given ample time to move from Fifth Avenue to Egodini and other areas. But this now becomes critically important. If we are to prevent cholera breaking out, it is a critical element in our measures that we need to take to prevent cholera. The fourth and final issue I want to raise with you is in terms of our own management of council affairs. I have been involved in discussions with the town clerk and chamber secretary involving the deputy mayor, and the deputy mayor was charged to speak to all of you to expand the role of the General Purposes Committee to ensure that it meets more regularly and it has an opportunity to deal with a much wider scope of affairs. My concern has been, having been in office some four months, is that we do not, in my view, have the ability to adequately track decisions that have been taken, to have timelines, to have people responsible for what things we have agreed on. And in between council meetings, my hope is that we can use the General Purposes Committee with the chairs of all committees present so that we have a very efficient cascading management structure that ensures that going beyond the full council meeting once a month, we have a mechanism to ensure the efficient administration of the city. And so I trust that the Deputy Mayor has managed to brief you all and that we have a broad consensus in terms of how that works. Those are my opening remarks, and we will now go into the formal session of council. Thank you. We'll deal with item 1, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillors, management and the esteemed guests, the legal question being confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 30th of January 2024, attached as Annexure A, pages A to W. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Can we confirm those as an accurate record?
Yes.
Moved?
Side.
Thank you. Where's the original? Have we got the original? For me to sign? Okay, I will sign later. Let's move to agenda item 2.
Thank you, Worship. I move that the report of the Future Water Supplies and Water Action Committee meeting held on the 2nd of January 2024 is submitted, be received, and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Thank you. Is there any debate?
Seconder.
Seconder? A seconder for that, thank you. Any debate? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Worship. Mine is item number 2, where it says status of water resources. Okay, my thinking is that we should substitute giving statistics on the dam levels with the plans that we are undertaking as a city. Because admittedly, we have to admit that there is a water crisis in the city and we can't sit on our laurels and do nothing or not even contribute on what should be done. I'm glad that you talked about Class Block Dam that is already being processed, or there's something behind the scenes that is happening now. Then my contribution will be that maybe let's also look at the Kami Dam, how we can utilize it. My contribution would be that maybe let's because admittedly industry is using a lot of treated water. So let's see how we can get maybe a partner, or if you've got capacity as ourselves as council, let's try to make use of that water for industry purposes only, because industry is taking a large chunk of our water for their processes such as cooling and other initiatives. They shouldn't use treated water, but they can make use of that dam. It has been there for a while and is not being used. It will reduce pressure on the city for the treated water, because now industry is competing with the water for the residents that is treated. Because if you look at Bulawayo, I think one of the things that why our GDP is so low is that industries are closing and many people are migrating from Bulawayo because there is no water. This issue has been a perennial trend ever since, and even admittedly, the census for 2022, it was Bulawayo as the second largest city. We are seated at around 665,000 in terms of population. But as the second largest city, Harare maybe is around 2 million, 3 million, somewhere there. It shows that there's something wrong, and it is us policymakers here in this city who should address such issues. It worries me that our people, they spend more time fetching water instead of being productive. That's why Bulawayo people will say Bulawayo is not progressing. How can you progress while you spend 90% of your time fetching water? Because admittedly, water is life. If we can't talk about these issues, I think it will be a failed council. Let's not shy away from talking the truth to power. Because at the end of the day, especially myself, I wouldn't want to leave this council and maybe I'm even scared to work in the city because people are saying you didn't do anything, or you're not speaking the things that are affecting the city. Water issue is a serious issue. Let's attend to this issue. Let's have things that are being done in these reports rather than having just dam levels statistics. Let's have engineering actually taking these statistics to the engineering department. But Future Water is concerned about making sure that we are talking about issues that will once and for all end the city water crisis. The city water crisis is a fact that even since time immemorial, when I was a kid at school, maybe primary school at grade 3 there, this city has always been facing water challenges. And if you don't speak about such issues, you will actually be fooling ourselves. And you want this city to progress. You have been calling for triple Ps for investors to come into the city. The investors won't come if you don't have water. How can an investor come to a city where there is no water? They want to produce. How can they produce while there is no water? Even if they want to construct a building, I think our last building, a skyscraper, is Fidelity, which was done around 1994. Because if you go to Harare, if you go even to smaller towns like Shabane, Filabusi, Gwanda, there is massive development that is happening. So if we don't address this water crisis as this council, I think we are doing nothing even to attract any investors, even for ourselves when we leave this council. And unfortunately, where I stay at my place, the residents, they are now frustrated. They actually broke into my house. They damaged my Jojo tank. It's now leaking because they are saying, Councillor, you are questioning yourself. What about us, the ordinary people? I've got videos here. My Jojo tank is leaking. It was damaged last night because they are saying, you are not even talking about these issues. You are shying away from them. And I want to urge this committee to take seriously this purpose of being future water and bring sources of new water sources into this city so that we progress this city. We make sure that this city succeeds. I speak with passion some of these things because I wouldn't want to be in a council where I just come here and say move, then you go home and not speak about pertinent issues that are concern this city. This city is faced by water crisis. It's a fact. Let's act. Let's do the needful. Let's have the department that is supposed to be investing in technology, investing in research, doing needful, so that this city will close this issue once and for all. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor.
Okay, I would want to add to what has been said by my fellow councillor on the issue of water. I remember the last time we went for the workshop, I think we were in Shawan. The director for engineering, I can't remember, it was in a formal meeting or it was just a discussion that we were having, mentioned something about bores, because I think considering the fact that year in, year out we are receiving very low rainfalls and our catchment area is a dry area, I think we should also consider what I once heard the director for engineering, Mr. Director Mncube, talking about, that when there are 3 types of bores that we can also consider as a city. The first one is the one which goes maybe up to around 60, 70 meters, the ones that we normally use. Then there's a second one which goes, I think, maybe up to 100 and something. Then there's one which was saying it's mostly used in Arab countries where there are deserts, like over Dubai, where you dig a shaft to be very big, which is enough. That one is enough to supply the whole city. So I just wanted to ask, maybe if it was possible, we could actually ask probably that engineering department to come and have probably a small presentation. Tell us how much that would probably cost so that we can weigh our options and we try to be a bit broad in our considerations. I was proposing that because maybe so that whenever we don't get enough rains, we can always opt for that. We know that our city is protected when it comes to water sources. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Councillor Nkubo.
Thank you, Your Worship. Item 5 and item 7. Item 5 on water bowsers. I believe the item again appeared on your last report, where you reported that there were 7 bowsers and only one was functioning. The same item is actually reappearing again with no movement or traction. If I may appeal to the committee next time to come up with a plan as to if it's going to be repairing one bowser a month, but let's see some movement and traction in that report, because it appeared as item 4 in the last report. Now it's appearing as item 5. It's exactly as it was, cut and paste, no movement. So let's have some movement there. Then on 7, glass block, I think it's an exciting, very exciting development. and probably on triple Ps, we will need to really explore which triple P works best for us in terms of water. Is it build, own, operate, build, own, operate, transfer, build, operate, transfer? Which of those triple P models work best for the city and give the best value to the citizens?
Thank you very much, Your Worship, TC councillors and management. I think we are agreed that by this time we had hoped that our supplies in terms of inflows into the dams, they would have improved. But sadly, it appears that we haven't been so lucky. But I think what should concern us as council and the residents of the city is the water augmentation strategies. Yes, we've heard the plans, but people want to hear exactly what is happening on the ground. We have heard about the duplication of the in-season pipeline. What progress is happening regards the in-season pipeline? We have heard about the booster pumps for Umzingwane and Umchabez. What progress is actually obtaining on the ground regards capacitating those pumps? Because now the concern is actually augmenting the supplies for the city. And also regards the Nyamandlovu aquifer, it was said that most of the balls there are down and out, and there were several efforts to try and rehabilitate and bring those to functional position. What progress is there on the ground? So that I think the concern of this council and the people and stakeholders in here is to know what progress we are making to try and alleviate the water situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Item number 5, alternative water sources. I'll start with city balls. Okay. The most important thing is the repairing of our poles when there's a breakdown. Because right now, asilawa manzi, and the singalawa manzi, we need to complement our poles and the quick repairing of our poles. And then the second thing is our water kiosk. Our water kiosk, they were there. The pause and then it fills up in our water kiosk. But when I move around, especially in my ward, ama water kiosk lana as a file, and the pausers don't even come to what to fill up those water kiosk. Ama water kiosk lana angasiza kakhulu, especially when we lamanzi so angithi. And then as my colleague has said, ubabu unkomola on pausers as well. We have higher places, higher areas where amanzi angafiki khona. So in those areas, noma amanzi engazevule, empompini amanzi kaphumi in those high areas. So what we need is, we need pausers to increase pausers. For now, we've got only 1 pause. So we need more pausers. We need 3 or 4 or 5. Especially this year, we need more pausers. And then pausers abebuya high areas ebuya almost twice a week for people to get water. Thank you, Your Worship.
Your Worship, the issue of water, as important as it is, I think we are measuring miners now, especially when we item 5, yes. We are beginning to regress to measuring on miners. The thrust would sound as if we are leaning more on mitigatory measures. Fine, it's important to do that because we have a challenge with water. We are going to spend resources pushing for more pausers, pushing for the water kiosks, but we forget to think about the implications of the cleanliness of the same water that gets transferred from the taps or from the first source, primary source, to the bowser, from the bowser to the to the water kiosk, from the water kiosk to the container, from the residence, then to the house. Being delicate as water is, what is the measure of contamination? Have we ever considered that? My view would be that we look into the medium and short-term measures of bringing water to Bulawayo and try and expedite that process, especially these things that require research and documentation. I want to speak directly to the issue of the glass block dam and if I understand this dam has got funders who wanted to fund and building this dam. I'm really surprised that you are still telling us, Your Worship, with greatest respect, of the processes and the documentation that needs to be done as if this thing is coming from somewhere in another planet, with the emergency that we speak to, unless if we are not being honest about the emergency that we speak to. The issue of documentation and coming together and sitting around as committees, it's something that could be done in the shortest possible time, really, if we are serious about these water issues, and get this dam starting as early as yesterday. I think this should be the primary focus, so that then we can then talk about the mitigatory measures, knowing very well that our short-term measure is in progress. City Council has no money. The redoubling of the retunneling of these other short-term measure, yes, but we don't have money. We will speak about this. I think this is your 5th time you are speaking about this redoubling of the tunnel and what. Then talk about it, and then what? When we have people who are ready to put in money, and then the dam starts, they have promised us that given all the requirements, this dam will be there within 24 months. Clearly, this is the most urgent thing to speak to than all these other issues about water pausers and all the unnecessary things that would waste money and still give people diseases. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Still on the similar item. Allow me to applaud the department for the repairs they have done to the boreholes. At least to provide some sign of relief in terms of water supply. But allow me also to look this with the item number 1, where it speaks of the duplication of Isiza pipeline, if I'm not lost. Right, Your Worship. We may sing and cry and repeat and speak, but what is required here is funding. Simple. The glass block dam, yes, a very good measure. The duration 24 months, 2 years, people would have died. What are the immediate solutions which are required for the city while the glass block dam is being constructed? We are in a threat as a city for the outbreak of cholera. And honestly speaking, after 24 months, the city will be left with no one. So what is required here, Your Worship, is funding. The city has no funding. Who is responsible in a crisis like this? It is the government of the day, which is the central government. We may blame each other here that so and so is not doing the job, but that's not it. When we know who can solve this problem. We said Bulawayo must be declared a water crisis city. That was actually going to open funding. Why is it that status has not been granted? It is the deliberate move by government to blame the city fathers, to blame you, Your Worship, and your team that you are not working. Outbreak of cholera in the city, they will blame the councillors of the city. They will blame the management of the city. So when I said, Your Worship, last time, your team, the committee chairperson, go and meet the ministers. We were expecting you to come back and to say, we'll not be the minister in this regard and this regard. Right? And as an immediate measure, the ministers have agreed to do this and this, and it's not the Glassbook issue. Glassbook dam is 24 months away, 2 years. We need the solution now.
And what I would require you, our chief accounting officer, the town clerk, and your team, your committee chairperson, re-strategize on how we can bring government to its needs, or to bring government on the negotiating table to make sure that the water crisis of the city is solved. Epping Forest in Rochester, there is funding which is required to repair those boreholes, transformers which were stolen. And there's a seat right now, we don't have that capacity. So, what I want to move here, worship, is that government be re-engaged. Even if it means to go and see His Excellency President, let it be. If you find no joy with the ministers, engage the head of state himself and bring the answer here. He is responsible to make sure that the citizens of Bulawayo get adequate water. We don't want deaths. We don't want outbreak of cholera in our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I hand over to the Deputy Mayor, let me respond to some of the issues that have been raised. In general terms, I think that this is an issue that's very important for us to take to committee, and that we get an update from the Director of Engineering, which obviously will not happen now. And I asked the Director of Engineering to prepare for committee to advise us, for example, what the dam levels are, and also to advise us regarding what has happened with the money that has already been allocated by government for example, I believe the Mzungwani pump station, Nyamendlovu, Epping Forest, and the like. And so hopefully in committee we will get a full update from the Director of Engineering in that regard. But in particular, Councillor Mabuto, let me respond to your remark. Just for the record, I repeat that on the 5th of December, I and the town clerk met with the Minister of Local Government in Harare and handed him a letter setting out the nature of the crisis and what we needed done. That was followed, and I'm sorry to be pedantic, but it's very important for the record that we met the Minister of Water, Dr. Masuka, on the 3rd of January. And we had a good, constructive discussion with him and explained in great detail the nature of the crisis and the need for the city to be declared a water shortage area. He asked us to write a letter, which was done, which is there part of the record, a very detailed letter which was drafted in the beginning by our technical experts, but which bore my name at the end. And that was hand-delivered to the Minister on the 12th. Just this afternoon, the town clerk and I met Minister Ngube and the Minister of Industry, Minister Nyoni, both of whom, of course, come from our city and understand better than many cabinet ministers the nature of the crisis and our needs. So we have, and we made the appeal to get today, just on the lines that you have said, that this is now a crisis and we do not have the means ourselves to address it. My closing remark, I come to Councillor Mahlangu's point about the need to get private funding and to get these underway. Let me stress that before we can get private funding, we have to have a pre-purchase water purchase agreement in place. That is the only way that we can enter into a private arrangement with a financial institution, an arrangement whereby the private institution will fund the construction of the dam and the pipeline on the understanding that over 10, 15, 20 years or so, the city will buy water and in that way be able to pay back the loan advanced by the private institution. Now, the problem about that is that we need to know the cost of water on delivery. It's not the cost of the water in the dam at Glass Block. It's the cost of the water getting it through the pipeline to Ngema, and Ngema water treatment works at present is very old, as we know, and it has to be rehabilitated. It has to be expanded to cater for the extra water that will come from Glass Block. To remind you, Glass Block Dam, when constructed, will add 70%. Fourth Estate, please note this. This is critical. It will add 70% more to the city's water capacity. It almost doubles our water capacity. That includes Mchabez, Insiza, and all of these dams. But the point is that when we take that water to Ngema, water treatment works, it does not have the capacity to receive and treat that extra 70% of water. And that's why it has to be renovated, expanded. And that is why Tuli Reservoir also needs to be expanded. Because even if we have the water sitting in Glass Block, we've got to purify it and we've got to get it to our holding reservoirs. So the point that has been made in our technical meeting that we've had is that we can't just look at the construction costs of Glass Block in isolation and the pipeline. We also have to take into account the costs of rehabilitating Ngema water treatment work and the costs of expanding Tuli and other measures that our engineering department has recommended. And it is only once that has happened that we will know the ultimate cost of getting the water delivered to residents. And that is the important data that we need before we can even enter into financial negotiations. So the point I'm making, Councillor, is that I understand, and I think you know me, I would have liked this dam built when we had the first feasibility study done way back in 1988. It is unbelievable that it has not been constructed yet. And so it needs to be constructed yesterday. But unfortunately, for a project of this magnitude, we need to know all the engineering that will be entailed in getting the water from Glass Block delivered into people's taps. And that is the primary data that we need, and that will then inform the costing. We have teams, as I say, 2 committees working flat out with the Director of Finance, the Engineering Director involved in both of those committees to ensure that within the earliest possible time, we will have those 2 documents ready, which will then enable us to go to the next step. But with those remarks, let me ask the Deputy Mayor to
Thank you,
close.
Worship. I am the member of the committee, so I shall be responding on behalf of the committee. First of all, I would like to appreciate what all councillors are saying. It shows that we are singing from the same hymn book. We are all worried about the water situation in the city. That is what, as a committee, we are happy about. And also, we are saying, yes, the mayor have responded, especially about Glass Block. Yes, I'm not contradicting with him. I'm in agreement with him to say, yes, we need Glass Block water. We are saying, yes, ABCD should be done to get the correct price up to the tap at our homes. But that should not really take ages. Because we are talking about the issues here which can be debated within 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or 1 hour. That committee should expedite that issue of pricing so that we get the correct pricing, then the dam is constructed. Thank you so much. Also, the issue of Kami water was raised. Yes, previously the issue of Kami dam was taboo to the people of Bulawayo. But we are saying we have reached a situation whereby Kami water should be considered, especially for industrial use. Definitely it's not under our purview as the future water, but naturally with the engineering department, we share the same human resources. So we shall ask those in charge of engineering to expedite and look at options, how water from Kami Dam may be utilized by the city, especially by industries. Because without water, definitely no one can come and invest in Bulawayo, as you rightly said. And statistics, yes, they should be part of our reports, but not the the headline, not in show report yet. Yes, the statistics shall always be there, but we are saying we should also proffer solution to the water crisis in the city. Thank you for that. But the statistics shall always be there. And the issue about the pausers, posters, and so forth is not in the purview of the committee, but a different department. Ours is providing future water to the city of Bulawayo. Finally, I want to thank you, fellow councillors, for showing seriousness and commitment in bringing water to the city of Bulawayo. I thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Can we sorry? Ask them what we do with them. Yeah, right. What do we do with this report, councillors? Thank you. So moved. Item 3. That's General Purposes Committee.
General Purpose.
Yes. Yeah. And that's me. Huh? No.
Thank you, Your Worship. I read that report of the Health, Housing and Education Committee meeting held on the 9th July 2024 was submitted and received, and various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Is it second? Seconded. Any debate? Councillor.
Your Worship, I'm on item number 2. I think as a city, we are still failing to properly manage the Ngozi mine landfill site. This is so because strong emissions continue to pose a huge threat to the residents of County Park. And as you might be aware that air pollution is the single largest environmental threat to public health, which may lead to premature death and a number of diseases. So this excuse by this committee that which is not the one, which is not council that is starting fires at the Ngozi mine is no longer accepted. We have raised this issue over the years. It is not me that started raising this issue. My predecessor council to raise this issue. And up to now, there is no solution. Rather, council is blaming other players. Because ultimately, it is this council that is responsible for managing the Richmond landfill site. And I don't understand why we are still failing to manage that site. So in the immediate term, I propose that council comes up with proper fire prevention management methods to manage that site. But in the long term, I think that we have to relocate that landfill site, considering that there are a number of human settlements that are being planned around that landfill site. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just curious about item 5. I'll link that with item 10 on the just one item. Okay, sure. To the 21 remains that of 21 remains that were found in Kilani. I'm just curious. Is there more information about that? Is that a mass grave? What implications does that have on the housing project there? Then 10 on housing administration. Chairperson, your committee has a waiting list of 138,000. What is your strategy of addressing that backlog? And linked to that, maybe I would like to applaud the department and the committee for the home ownership scheme. I think they've done very well, especially in Iminyela and Mabutweni, Makokoba and Mziligazi. I would like to urge the committee and the department to speed up home ownership in these areas where we have very vulnerable grandmothers and very vulnerable people in our community. I thank you.
Councillor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I want to make a contribution on item number 2, which is under cleansing section. That concerns the banning of liquor. It seems our policy is not yet, yes, we talk about prohibition of burning. But you find that we've contracted water sweepers, but we have failed to capacitate them with litter receptacles on what they should do with the litter that they go around kicking. I have actually done an investigation myself, and what is coming out here is that they do pick up the litter, but they have no way to put that litter or to place that litter. The issue being that does council have a clear-cut policy regarding litter receptacles? Are we saying that these ward sweepers in all 29 wards must recycle contaminated litter bags that are collected from these compacting trucks? You know, the community trucks, they pick up the litter and there's a central depot where they go through, they screen the litter and they actually empty the receptacles. Is it council position that those are receptacles that they expect the ward sweepers to be using? My question is, what is council position regards the litter receptacles? Because these ward sweepers are saying, look, when we do this litter around, we have nothing or nowhere else to place it except the burning. You see columns, my brother councillor Dan was talking about counterpart. It's actually the whole of Bulawayo. You see columns of black thick smoke going up, and that's an environmental hazard. It's a serious pollution of the environment. I think this department, the health housing department, has to come out clear on what these people should do with the litter. Secondly, we have ward sweepers. I know probably this one might be applied to the Human Resources Department, the Human Capital Department. The ward sweepers, we heard that they've been reduced, their numbers have been reduced. I totally object to that, and we are not going to have that. I, for instance, had 10 ward sweepers in my ward. Those 10 were not enough to cover the whole ward, considering the new demarcation and the size of the ward. Because of the size of the ward, I was told that I am now going to have to make do with only eight ward sweepers. They were in fact brought down. Instead of them being increased, they were brought down to 8. And I objected to that. Why? Because the ward has been extended. And to further prove my point, staff in this department appear not to be aware of the ward sizes. We heard that there is a research that is being done. There are work study, officers who are going around to assess the size of the ward and the relevant personnel that is appropriate to those wards. But what I discovered is that those people who have been assigned that responsibility are themselves not even aware of the demarcations and the boundaries. Why do I say this? One of the officers came to me to ask my ward sweepers in 125 to go and pick up litter, which was close to Plank Road, which was outside my ward. And this tells me that they are not even aware, they don't appreciate, they are not even aware of the demarcations. So my challenge is that you cannot reduce the number of ward sweepers without engaging the councillors on the size of the ward and on the exact boundaries. So those are my two declarations.
Councillor.
Thank you very much, Worship. I share the same sentiments with the Councillor and Dr. I propose that the health department together with the HR department, they do another work study and involve the ward councillors, the workers, so that will show you where the boundaries were, where they are now. I will give you a good example. Okuma is now bigger what time? It's now bigger than what it was. But the number of sweepers has not changed. It's still the same. Now my area goes beyond White City, part of Njube. It's now my area, Babutwele, all of it. I've only lost 2 polling stations in Bopoma, which is just a part of Machovan. The other part of Machovan is in Ward 9. And that ward is now too big. Too big such that as a councillor you feel exhausted to service that ward. That you would need an officer again in Mabutwe to make sure that you attend to the needs of the residents. So I believe that thing should be relooked. Engage the ward councillors, let there be consensus, right? Engage the ward councillors, even key stakeholders in that area, so that we come up with a very workable solution in a sizable number, which will assist our communities to be clean.
Councillor.
Thank you very much.
How can I do it?
Your chief councillors and management. Still on item 2 and item 13. I think maybe to just cement on that point of our community workers, I think the departments that are in charge of that process, they must be aware and be reminded of the need and the reason why we actually hire those community workers and the role that they are supposed to play in terms of managing the environment. Not to forget that as a city, we are in a crisis of water. We are trying to minimize chances of cholera. Hence, we can't take risk in terms of failing minimally on cleaning our city and our environment. So it's very critical and urgent for that department to relook into that initiative and processes to make sure that they allocate adequate numbers of sweepers. And on the same note, Your Worship, I think you have a challenge on enforcement of law. My fellow councillor talked about the lack of legal spaces or legal spaces of dumping the waste that will be picked by those community workers. As a result, we are having illegal dump sites in each and every corner of our ward, specifically where I come from, Ward 22. If you go to Soksile, there, dumping sites everywhere. Go to Nketa 6, etc. And we have tried to engage the department specifically to say, at least try to increase your efficiency in terms of picking up that litter with your trucks. Because I understand they have a schedule and a timetable, but sometimes those guys, they don't even come to pick that litter. I don't know the problem is because of lack of trucks or because the schedule is tight. But I think we need to minimize the chances of getting cholera. Hence, we need to make sure that our environment is always clean. If there's a lack of trucks, maybe to say council has no trucks, they can insource those trucks locally in every ward. I think we have people who can hire those trucks in cheaper so that we increase efficiency. Then on item 13, on education, Your Worship, allow me to appreciate and applaud. I was reading the report, I saw that council primary schools, they did very well in terms of their pass rate. Regardless of tough moments, we know that the teachers are not being paid enough, but they try to make sure that they raise the standard of the city in terms of the pass rate. So allow me to congratulate them. And also the idea, I saw the report, the idea of introducing e-learning is a very critical one as we are moving into a digital world. But also I understand that there's a low turnout in terms of fees payment, which has crippled the efficiency and the running of primary schools. But there's a question, Your Worship, which is coming from the community I say, which is Gulumani, that there's a certain amount that is paid in council in USD, around approximately 30 USD. Sometimes that money, they believe that it was said it is for maintenance of the institution. As an example, we have a primary school in Mafela Primary, if you know it. It has a damaged toilet. Now the students, they are resorting to other areas in terms of trying to help themselves because the toilet is not being maintained. I was there yesterday, I looked at it. It's not pleasing. So the residents were asking, that money, once it was even said that it's supposed to buy textbooks, but the textbooks are buying for themselves. I'm not sure how accurate is that information. But literally, in a nutshell, we want to understand how far and what is it that is being used with that money as council is concerned, because in terms of maintenance, specifically where I come from, all those primary schools, they are poor in terms of maintenance. So we really need the council to take a look at that and to make sure that we deliver to the services.
in terms of health, your worship, I don't think we need to take chances. We can't give an excuse that we don't have water. Equally, then we give an excuse that we are failing to clean our facilities as council. So I think then maybe we need to strike the balance and balance the two. Thank you.
Thank you, GC, management, and our colleagues. I note section 5, where it says, it says, challenges remain to continue because of the repairs of the TLB hydraulic systems. And it not resolved. A private grave dig was hired, but it failed to meet its task of 100 graves given. My question is, what is the alternative towards these challenges? Or, as the committee realized, the hired company, it's failing. So what is the alternative? What are the way forward? When things are not, or when things are not done properly, I believe the responsible department must do something. We cannot allow incompetence to continue. Thank you.
Councillors, I've been liberal in allowing you to jump around on the agenda. We do need more discipline and to follow the numerical sequence. I deliberately allowed the councillor to go back, but please, if you realise that you're wanting to make a contribution on something that's way down, try to wait until we get to that section.
Move the report, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Sorry?
Move the report.
No, we're not moving it just yet because I have one item that I want to raise before I hand to the chair, and that relates to Ngozi Mine. Councillors, I'm very pleased that was raised. I flew in to the airport on Friday, and I've shown the town clerk and the deputy mayor the photograph that I took from the air. It is very distressing to see that amount of pollution. When I took off the week before, I saw the same fire burning. And we need to address this as a matter of urgency. I don't understand why it is that fire is still raging. But it constitutes a very serious health risk. There must be appalling fumes emanating from Ngozi Mine. And so town clerk and the relevant departments, we will need a report on this as a matter of extreme urgency to deal with it. But I will now hand to the chair to respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, fellow councillors. Your Worship. Sorry, Your Worship, the councillors have not exhausted.
Sorry.
Councillors have not exhausted their debate.
Oh, sorry, Councillor.
I'll come to you.
Still on that enforcement issue, Your Worship. I actually think that as councillors we are not being fair, especially when it comes to councillors, because we are probably taking this as a cover issue, where it is a lower issue. That downside does not belong to our part. They are the only people who are affected, but almost every time I note that it's an issue which is raised by councillor, or councillor, or councillor, or councillor home. And my problem is that we've been discussing this issue since last year. And my main problem, the way probably that we are looking at these things, because we come and discuss issues, we don't keep time frames. Next time we come again and discuss the same issue. I think we should get to a point where we discuss something and then we give a time frame to whoever is going to implement it, so that we don't come here and discuss the same thing again. So I think we need to get to the bottom of this issue and deal with it once and for all. There was a proposal which was raised sometime last year, I think it was our first meeting, that there were people who were willing to come and buy that place and recycle so that they can control the fires and everything. Up to now, no report, no nothing has been said about it. And we keep raising the same issues. These are the affected people, like in Country Park. Some of us, we might not be directly affected, but it's not fair because we contribute as a city towards that dump site. So I think we need to get to a point where worship, we discuss something, we put time frames. If they don't action it, then we should also go back to the people who are supposed to be doing that, so that we don't keep, coming in circles. This is something which was raised by Councillor Mutru. Some of us have even forgotten about it. We are going to discuss the same issue for the next 5 years, and nothing is going to be done. The next group comes in. I think we need to make sure that whoever is responsible for these departments, they should act, or else we look for other people who are able to implement these things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I think if we recall our first weeks in council, the health committee requested that they need a new compactor for the dump site. But I think we're 6 months down the line, the council has failed to procure a compactor. But we still need to address the pollution that is emanating from the Ngozi landfill site. So I think I will propose in our health committee that we find an alternative site. We shut down Ngozi mine if we cannot procure the necessary equipment to service the area, and find an alternative site that is not going to pollute any residential area. And I will also assure you that we will task from the health committee, we will task the relevant department, the HR department, to conduct another work start. I'm sure, I assure you that we will try to engage the HR department so that we conduct another work study where it will involve all stakeholders, including the councillors, so that we solve these problems. All other concerned councillors are noted. Thank you.
Right.
Report, Worship.
Move. So moved.
Thank you.
Right. Next item is the report on the Environmental Management and Engineering Services Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the report of the Environmental Management and Engineering Services Committee meeting held on the 15th of January 2024 is submitted, received, and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Any debate? Councillor?
Thank you, Worship. If there is any item before item 6, I can proceed. Do something with the third item.
Anyone who wants to debate earlier than that? No?
Okay, on item
Thank you.
6,
Item
Worship.
6.
Okay, there is an issue where residents purchased those days, I think 8 years ago or so. Then it was agreed that the residents should pay a top up of about 585 somewhere. And you agree that as council, when the residents pay about 60%, when 60% of the beneficiaries have paid that top up, then we're going to do the waste that was incomplete Electrical meaning we need those roads because more than 60% of the residents have already paid. And now I can't get peace because that was arranged. The residents are coming to me as their representative for the area to say this was an agreement, this was an arrangement. So why is it not being implemented? I think I'm saying this for the second time. Can we reflect on that and play our part and meet our end of package? Because the residents have already met their end of package, they paid the top up. It wasn't easy to convince them to pay their top up. In the way they've topped up now, we are not doing this. Then also on the related item, if I want to urge the department to consider working with the Department of Health, there are workers which are appointed by the health department. Because what happens with the engineering department, after maybe they've done work, they leave maybe open holes for a long period. I think those workers from the health department, maybe they can be incorporated, maybe that will be the case. If the site has been approved, that is has been completed now, they come and close those walls. Because if you have seen maybe in the past, in Kano, there was a huge truck that fell into a ditch. Then there's also another, there are also cars along Lamb Road, near Stanbic Bank. They have always been falling on that ditch, but now it has been closed. And also other areas, maybe inside the roads in our areas, there are dishes where cars they fail there. So I think it may be something that they need to consider. If they've done work and they tell us, the area councillors, that maybe engage those workers from the health department to come and close those dishes. I will definitely do so because we don't want damage to private property, to the car owners. I think it's something that will also assist the area council to engage those workers to come into the work.
Councillor?
Item 9 is one. Okay, item 9 is speaking about measures to alleviate flooding in council area. That is in Ward 6. And I think the item is a resolution that was passed in June 2022. Can the council implement the resolution? Because abantu abahlala laphana ba-toilets, the area does not have sewer. Imagine if there is flooding in those areas. Amanzi lawana ahlala area lami lama-black toilets. Amanzi lawana aflada laphana ahlangene lengcekeza kama-black toilets. I think there's also a risk of health abantu bona. Can the committee and the department quickly implement the June 22 resolution? Yabo.
It's still on the same item. I wanted to propose something with regards to the ward that I also come from, which has got more or less the similar problem as Councillor Mkane said. And I want this to be put on record. I've raised this issue worship more than 3 times now. I think I've been raising the same issue almost every time we come here. Where I come from, there's a location, a new location called Pelandawa West, which has got some challenges in terms of the drainages which were not properly constructed, and also the roads which were not even done at all. And I've raised this issue several times, and I still look forward up to now to get a response from the council, because at first I was told that the city council was not responsible for maintaining that area in terms of the drainages, especially in the rainy season, and also even the roads which are not even there. Later on, I then got some information that the developers are actually the ones who are supposed to do that. So now I've got a serious challenge, because almost every time we have rains, there is serious flooding because there are no drainages, there are no roads. And I've not been able to get a proper answer from the council as to what could have been the reason why we don't have drainages and why we don't have roads and who is responsible for that. So I want this to be noted and also be put on record, and I hope also I'm going to get an answer with regards to that as soon as possible. Thank you.
Item 22. Thank you, Worship. I want to comment about the illegal mining activities along the Nyankuni pipeline. Yes, I'm happy with the recommendations there. In our previous engagement with His Worship, with the Mayor and the Town Clerk and the Minister of Water, Dr. Masuga, the issue was also raised, and a committee was proposed to deal with such activities. Thereby, we are saying, yes, I'm agreeing with the proposal to say the committee must be formed, but most of the issues raised there, they are for the police to take action. So let's approach the central government and make sure that they are dealt with. Because even if it rains today, the water will go to the walls of the illegal mining activities. It won't reach the dam. So yes, I'm happy for the recommendations. Let's go for it. I thank you, Your Worship.
Is there no further debate? Chair?
Thank you, Worship. I just want to say that I noted the recommendations by the chairperson, our liaise with the Director of Engineering. Thank you.
So we move the report. The next is the report of Town Lands and Planning Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. With 2 meetings prior to full council. I'll start with the first one. I move that the report of the Town Lands and Planning Committee meeting held on the 16th of January as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted, except, Your Worship, for item number 9 to be referred back to the committee as agreed.
Okay.
And then the second...
Let's move both and we can debate both.
I move that the report of the Town Lands and Planning Special Committee meeting held on the 1st of February 2024 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Is there any seconder for that? Thank you. Right, let's deal with the first report first. Is there any debate? Councillor? You're on the first.
Thank you, Your Worship. Item 6. Yeah, firstly, I would like to appreciate the work that is being done by Town Lands, especially on allocating places to try to improve the city in terms of business and local economy. But I have a problem, Your Worship. I believe it is on our law enforcement, because if maybe we are to rethink, we as police makers here, our duty is to make law, but we have another tier which is supposed to enforce law. And my worry is that we can be rendered as an incompetent council if we fail then to implement or enforce law that we come here to try to make it. Your Worship, as you are aware that there is a bylaw that suspends or does not support bottle stores which are standalones, and we are having a challenge in our committees, in our communities, specifically where I'm coming from. There's a number of bottle stores which are standalone, and such bottle stores are the ones that are selling illegal stuff that are being abused by our young people. Whereas we have a bylaw which is clear that it doesn't support or encourage stand-alone bottle stores, and these people are functioning and they are making money. They are making our youngsters drink every day, but they are acting outside the law. So I'm very much worried in terms of our law enforcement. Who gave those people permission? Because we as council, we come here to make law. and we believe that everything that we make is supposed to be enforced, because it defeats the whole purpose of coming to sit here, making laws that we know that we cannot put them into practice. We can be rendered as an incompetent council. So I believe that your worship, that not it's supposed to be dealt with, because as an example, where I am coming from, your worship, we have so many states, so many places which were allocated, if my history serves me very well, for certain projects. If you are aware of the place in Keta 6, your worship, garage, there's a park station there, which was meant for it was a bus terminus specifically, but now it's a car park, and the residents were questioning me several times about those type of things. So we are very much worried in terms of the implementation of our law and the hidden agendas beyond giving people licenses outside the law that we make as council. We believe and hope that the town lands department will be very serious on that note and make sure that they don't undermine the capacity of this council here in terms of making the law and then failing to implement it, because it defeats the whole purpose why we are here as policymakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I agree with you, Councillor Moyo. That stand-alone office storage, we have in the toilet. But this one, application, item 6, it says application for a development permit to establish a book store within a supermarket. This one is inside a supermarket. There was a local status kuma hapo permit to know. I must stand alone box stores. Ahlupha ngoba abantu alive besemagosa bafika abantu ngapha besenza abanisebenzana ngihlala khona lapho ngenamathole kwelana. I'm noting that. We take that to our committee again. We don't give them permits to stand-alone box stores. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can we move to the second report? Is there any debate? And a second minute?
Move.
Move? Move. Do you want to contribute, Councillor? Okay. Please.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Which item?
Management, fellow councillors, item number 9. At committee stage, we agreed that this item will be accepted from this report pending a site visit. And I'm sure there are other items, Chairperson, Councillor Neta, which were supposed to be accepted from that report pending site visits. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor, I think I cited this when I was reading. I said, except item number 9, be referred back to the committee as agreed in our committee. Item number 9, you're right. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Is there no more debate? Can we move this? Move. Right, next item on the agenda. Bear with us, councillors. What's it?
General purposes.
General purposes.
Thank you, Worship. I move that the report of the General Purposes Committee meeting held on the 22nd of January 2024 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Any seconder? Thank you. Any debate? No debate? Can we move that? Okay. Next item. The Finance and Development Committee. Councillor.
Thank you, Worship. I move that the report of the Finance and Development Committee meeting held on the 29th of January 2024 is submitted to be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Okay. Any seconder? Thank you. Any debate? No?
I'm saying move.
Yeah. Please, Councillor, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. I'm still trying to catch up with the report, but there's an issue which I wanted to raise, which goes directly to the finance department. Your Worship, we've been coming here several times now.
What item are you on, Councillor?
Yeah, it's only that
Just tell us, Councillor, what the general thing is.
Okay, all right, it's fine, thank you. I wanted to raise an issue which we have always been raising and directing it to the finance department, which is the issue of billing. The issue of billing, just some few days ago, I was approached by some residents who are still complaining about the way they are being billed by the city council, that the billing system is bad and it's exorbitant. So I also wanted to go back to the issue which I once raised, Your Worship, that this is also an issue which we have raised several times. And we keep coming here with the same issue over and over again. It has been raised by the previous council. Now we are debating the same issue. I don't know how we are going to progress as the council. Whenever we come here, we debate the same issues. I just hope that the responsible offices also are also here, because we cannot have, Your Worship, this repetition. Instead of moving forward, we keep discussing the same issue. I also propose, Your Worship, that maybe we also give time frames to these issues. If one fails to deliver within a certain time frame, then that person should be also answerable, because we cannot have this merry-go-round.
Councillor, I'm not clear in what you're talking about. Please just frame exactly what the issue is.
The issue of billing.
Billing, sorry.
Yeah, the issue of billing.
Okay,
is what
I beg your pardon. So billing in terms of people not getting their bills, or the amounts in the bills?
The amounts are exorbitant. They are too high. What has always been happening is that when people get such bills, they sometimes go to the offices, then it's corrected. But it has always been like that. We have a situation where one person can go more than 10 times in a space of a year, having the same thing being corrected. And we come here every time we discuss the same issue. We go back, and the next time again we come with the same complaints, which basically means that there are some people who are either sabotaging that department or naturally incompetent. So I'm saying that whenever we discuss these issues, let's try to also put some time frames, so that if a department is failing to rectify something, we take action against that department. Yeah. That's my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go, so Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. On that same item, item got no number. The same item. Also, we're not changing it. Right. I want to partly agree with the Councillor Matani. But the point here, fellow councillors, is that if we get to the complaint from residents about the billing, let's ask for that bill and bring it here so that it is explained to us. If it's an error, really heavy errors every month, definitely something will be wrong. But sometimes residents, their debt will be accumulating. Then they say, my bill is too much. So let's have a sample to say, yes, our people are billed too much. Then we bring the sample so that we talk directly to the finance chair to say, look at this bill, rather than generalizing. Because obviously the bills, we are failing to certify our bills, so definitely there shall be complaints. But if we bring the tangible evidence, then we will deal with it case by case. Thank you.
Your Worship, on the same numberless item.
You're being very liberal again today.
It's so, I don't know how best to call this or describe this, but it's a huge concern because it has a negative snowballing effect on the motivational side of residents having to pay their bills. And I want to be honest with you, Your Worship, and the councillors, that this thing has been snowballing ever since we came into council. And the consequences are that the residents are saying, even if you pay, the next bill comes exorbitant. And you pay again, the bill comes exorbitant. So what's the point? I'll stop paying and go and get water from the bore. And to me, this is one of the self-inflicted injuries that we give upon ourselves as council. I'll give you an example, like the deputy mayor wants. I have a resident who has a bill of $3,400 in Mhlangen. Because she's a layman, just like Councillor Mahlangu, in determining where this huge bill is coming from, there are no evident leaks in the house. She continues to come to City Council and they tell her to settle, to a point where she got a letter to disconnect her water. But honestly, as a responsive council to the residents, isn't it incumbent upon ourselves as council to say then, with these kind of bills, why don't we go out and investigate to see how a household can consume water worth 400, 500 every month? I spoke to one of the council guys wanting to address that bill, just to try and check the history of that bill. For the past 7 months, the bill is 500, 700, 500, 700, 500, 700. And honestly, when you know the average bill for Mhlangen is around $75 or 55, how in your normal senses do you continue to bill that person that kind of fine without doing any investigation into it? That's number one. Number two, we have people that pay in RTGS. They transfer millions or thousands of dollars into City Council. 1st January, 29 December, 5th January. To this date, the money does not reflect in their statements. And the bill continues to rise. Of course, I'm not that competent in finance, but I want to believe that when that bill continues to rise, there must be some interest to it. Who pays the cost of that interest? Number one. Number two, why would it take over 30 days to get the bill that has been settled to only transfer into the bank to reflect in a customer's account, when we have people who are paid day to day, who wake up in the morning and put on suits and go to council and sit and do their job and purport to be doing their jobs? Why do we have such situations, honestly? And how is that a motivating factor? Even to the neighbors who are told, I transferred 1.4 million bond to City Council on the 2nd of January, and today is the 6th of February. That money is still not reflecting in my account. The bill comes to City Council. They come and stamp to acknowledge receipt and that the money is there in their account. We've never been told here in council that we have problems ensuring that these monies are reflected into the customer's account. What is the problem? What are we doing? Are there any checks and balances? Are there any leverages to ensure that those that are tasked with certain things are doing their jobs? Who is there to ensure that those jobs are carried out, and what is it doing?
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to come to you. I want to contribute, but I want to see, is there any more debate before I contribute? Thank you, councillors, for raising this. Although it's a numberless item, it is a critically important issue. And I'd like to make a few points to the committee and to the chair. The first is this, that several months ago we did raise the issue regarding this consultant who had been employed to improve the electronic management. And we need to know what has happened in that regard. Secondly, we need to move the city more towards, for example, the city of Johannesburg. If you know how the city of Johannesburg issues its bills, it's all done electronically. The bills are sent electronically, either by email or WhatsApp. And in my view, we need to be moving towards that so that we save ourselves the costs of the paper delivery of bills. Thirdly, we need more transparency, in my view. Our website needs to set out very clearly what our various charges are and what the various charges are per district, so that we have complete transparency for all residents, all industries, all businesses in terms of what the standard charges are for particular areas and particular services. And that needs to be in our website. And then finally, we need to take seriously this point that has been raised by Councillor Mahlangu, where people get these outrageous bills in US dollars and there's no investigation. How can it be that a person in a high-density suburb with a small plot can be receiving a bill of $400-500 US? Now, I don't understand what the appeal process is. I'm too new in this job to understand that. But clearly it's not functioning. If we have a process, it's not functioning. And this needs to be addressed. But with those words, I hand to the chair to respond.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, fellow councillors, for the concerns that you raised. The concerns are well noted and are very pertinent. Okay, I would also like to respond to the issue of why some of the bills are high. Firstly, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ito, have already answered that. The time it is also encouraging for us to bring those bills before us so that we at least we have got an example of a bill that we are talking to, so that the bill can maybe be interpreted to us. Then secondly, I also know that the bills, why the bills at times they are not correct or accurate, so accurate, is that the issue starts from the meter reading. We have proposed that let's move to smart meters, and some of the residents are in agreement. Because if we, at times, the meter readers, when they get to a certain resident, the resident is logged and then they estimate. So if you have got smart meters which are emitting data to us, one, we are saving money, and two, we are getting accurate bills every month. So that's the trajectory that we should move to. Maybe we can advise the departments concerned to push these smart meters. I think it's the engineering department, so that we do away with these estimates. And also what I've noted, maybe at times there is a schedule that is sent every month, like this time it came in my area, this month they are going to have some estimates because of the resource constraints. The resource constraints are mainly due to debtors. Our residents are not paying promptly, the records are there. We are collecting less than 50% of the revenue of the billed charges, of which it's also coming in US dollars. And maybe at times the residents will say, first make sure that the bills are correct. But from finance perspective, we'll be saying, first make the payments. If you are paying promptly, you are collecting more than 80%, then you are able to deploy people to come and read meters there and have accurate resources. So I would like to urge residents to pay before camera here. And also my fellow councillors, let's urge residents to pay. Then judge us from there when we are saying our collection now is about 80-90% per month. Because all these problems which we are facing, mainly because councils don't have money, and the money is not that the money we receive it and misappropriate it. The records are there, the residents are not paying promptly. So let's encourage the residents to pay, and they pay the right amount and promptly payments. And now we are advocating that the residents understand us, and council we are staging everything in Zimbabwe is built in US dollars. But if you come and dump the RTGS to us here in council, let's have an honest conversation, residents, let's have an honest conversation, councillors. If we've got RTGS, honestly, we can't purchase fuel to even to attend to EPH. We can't purchase fuel which is priced in US dollars to attend to a swap bus. We need to start having honest conversation with the residents so that they first understand where we are standing as councillors we are standing in this council, that we have got people, other people who want to do the best for the city. We've got here the worship for Senator Councillor David Colchurch as the mayor. But if you are not supporting him in making promptly payments and regular payments and in hard currency, it will be difficult for him to deliver. It will be difficult for us, his lieutenants, to also to give. So let's have honest and genuine conversation first with the residents. Of course, it's noted in some of the things that Councillor Maslam was raising, that maybe there are outliers bills, that maybe times we need to visit, to do site visits. It's well noted, and as a department we will take that seriously. And that is also part of the finance department. I wonder why he was not bringing such some of the brilliant ideas that he has brought in. Then on the issue of payments that are not being credited, those are called unidentified deposits. A child, myself, I'm from a credit control background. I used to deal with a large data book. These payments are there everywhere. But what we can always try to do is to make sure that we reduce maybe the percentage. Some of the what causes these payments unidentified deposits to be there, even my fellow councillor down there, because that these payments, even in organizations, they are there. So you can only reduce them. Maybe let's encourage the residents to coach their account numbers. Because the times you just see money there sitting in the bank account, you can't even allocate it to an account or to an individual or to a corporate. You don't know what it is for. So, and someone they say, I have just paid to see currency. But if that person maybe has not quoted the account number, or even their phone number, to at least phone them, so that you can credit it to the appropriate account.
Chairman, may I just interject for a second?
Okay.
A prerogative. Please continue standing because I'm going to be brief.
Okay.
We need to move towards a situation where every single ratepayer has access to their own page on a computer, so that they can pay as one would on Amazon or. That's what we need to move towards, so that you go in, you have a password, you can do your bank transfer, and you can check what the state of your account is. We need to move towards that. Thank you. Sorry to interject.
Okay, thank you, Oship. I think that platform is already there. For myself, I've got an account that already I can view from council. Once I look my details, it's there. But maybe people, the uptake is low. Maybe it's also maybe the same strategies on how we can maybe educate people. I've seen some of the organizations maybe say in the electoral college, they've got what they call friend ambassadors. Maybe when people are queuing to make the payments, they can go along the line and educate you, teaching them how to get those platforms. That platform is there, it has always been there for quite a long time. Maybe I think around 2016, 2016, 2017, I was already using that one. Just look, it shows the balances of your payments, what has been built, and you can even see the payments in your account, what has been is there. Maybe we can try it, Your Worship. Maybe what we need is the implementation that people need to be educated. But it's not yet, and we agree that let's move to smart meters, maybe let's also engage banks to make sure that maybe people when are paying is already, when they are paying to sit council specific card, there is maybe a page that is different from other pages. Where if you don't input your account number, you cannot then proceed with the payment. So maybe let's engage banks. I think they are willing to take such businesses so that we are also maintaining and benefiting in council to reduce these unidentified deposits. That's me. Thank you, Oshie.
Councillor, I'm afraid you're too late. I've been very liberal this evening, but the chair has responded, I'm afraid.
But it's a question raising from what you say now.
I think perhaps raise it over dinner or in committee. Can we move that, please? Are we done? I think. Do we have any other business? Thank you. Are there any councillors who wish to notify of leave? No. In which case we adjourn.
Yeah.